I wanted to do a video on common knife logic, my opinion on a lot of these things. So there's a lot of stuff that people will say, don't do this, don't do that, this won't work, that won't work, etc. But in the end, it's what seems logical to you, because none of us are going out and stabbing the shit out of people on a regular basis. So most of what we're getting is secondhand information, and the person who has firsthand information is very rare, and most of them are in prison. But we can learn from those people. We can learn from the worst of the worst, as Tim Larkin is apt to say. And the Medusa system and other knife systems have been based on this ideal of learning from the worst of the worst. But keep in mind that their simplification and pure aggression is not always what we want to have. We want to have that as a base and an understanding of how to defend from, but we want to have deeper skills. Now, the statistics will tell us that our chances of getting into a knife-to-knife confrontation is really slim. However, in cultures where everybody carries knives, that happens. And to be honest, if you are someone who carries a knife, then your chances of having that happen are much more realistic. So don't let anyone tell you that you'll never get in a knife-to-knife confrontation. If you carry a cutting tool that you can improvise as a knife, you may find yourself in a situation where you are going up against another person armed with a knife. That's just a result of being a person who carries a cutting tool. So another thing that people say does not work is biomechanical cutting. And I say it can work depending on the size of the cutting tool you carry. A larger blade will be more effective at cutting through muscle groups. You really have to train this a lot to even consider this as a tactic. You need to practice this over many, many hours of training with a partner. It will not come overnight. However, when you see two people going knife to knife, if you've ever watched any video of this, and I have studied a lot of it, there's less of the aggressive forward attacking going on and more guys doing quick entries, quick attacks, and backing out. I've seen quite a few of these knife-to-knife confrontations, and it's very rare when someone realizes there's another knife that they just come in like a bull and stab the shit out of the other person. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but our desire to preserve our own lives may keep us at distance. And this is where the skills from Filipino martial arts do come in handy, because you can wound and pick at somebody with an edged weapon if you're good, if you're skilled. I'm not saying that this will be the application, the most common application of edged weapons, but it can happen. However, keep in mind that when we put up our arms, we create a defensive shield exposing generally the least vulnerable part of our arms. So this requires a lot of knowledge of targeting and how to get in and how to cut somebody under pressure. Once distance is closed, the knife grapple is a very common thing in violence, and you need to be able to fight in that kind of situation. You need to train for that. You need to play it. You need to spar. You need to just develop as much skill as you can in the things that we're told never happen. There is no never. There's skill. And if you develop skill, it can be applied in so many different ways. It does not have to be just done one way. So keep this in mind. Having a quick sniping cut and the ability to put it right across someone's eyes is a very good psychological attack. Cuts do happen. There's wisdom looking at old manuals on fencing. George Silver said that the skill of the sword is built on both the cut and thrust. Now, we're not talking about little folding knives there, we're talking about swords. But if you have a large folder, you can effectively cut. You can effectively cut through muscle groups. You just have to be good, as I said. Thrusting only is a very good tactic for killing, and this is something you are very likely to face. The sewing machine thrust is the rage nowadays, but don't forget, people aren't stupid. So if you do cover low after 1 or 2 stabs, change your angles in training, because whoever's trying to kill you isn't going to stay on the spot that you're blocking. So you have to be able to be fluid. You have to be able to adapt. This is my opinion about knife fighting, built on years of training. It doesn't mean that it's the truth. It is my opinion. But I have done a lot of training. I have done a lot of research. I think the Medusa system is your best base, but expand from that. Look at Marshall Bladecraft. Look at all the other systems. Learn them. Learn their tactics. And if something seems viable for you, add it to your skills. But the Medusa system is a brilliantly laid out, simple system of knife combat. And if you are in the worst case scenario where someone's trying to murder you, the Medusa system and other systems like that are a great asset to have. However, I believe that other things are practical and do work in the right circumstance, with the right skills, and with the right blade. One way isn't the only way, and you have to develop a practical and adaptable mindset. So get a good base and expand and add other things to it. Understand cultural knife fighting. Work with the skill sets of Filipino martial arts and other cultural knife fighting systems like Tanto Jitsu. Try and pick the things that you find most practical. And believe me, you will develop a hand-eye coordination that is very high level and will help you in the worst case scenarios if you need to use it. And combative systems like Medusa will give you something that you can take away the very first time you train it and have something in your back pocket if you face that worst case scenario. Thank you.